All right, guys, this week is going to be fun because we are covering a lot of the suspension, the drivabilities, like this. Look at these two cars going all over the place. Look at the handling that these guys put into these cars. That all takes planning, and it all takes design, and it all takes an idea and an execution to get you. This right here you're looking at is a QA1. This is a 12-inch spring, you see that? And a 170-pound spring rate. That means for every inch you drop it down, it takes 170 pounds. Now, everybody will tell you it's linear. It's not. It's all horse pucky. There's also adjustments here for compression and rebound. I'm going to explain to you what that means as we go ahead and apply it in the car. But I've done so much testing and so much development on the Chevelles that I build. I want this thing to be like a new Hellcat, right? It's about the weight of a Hellcat. It's got the horsepower of a Hellcat, but it's a Chevelle. Makes it even that much better. So this week we're going to dig into how the springs, what springs do we choose? What components do we actually put in the front of it? And guys, here's a trivia question. I want you to think about it. I want you to think about this. How many springs are there in the front of your car? Is it 2? All right, well, I'll address it in a minute. Hey, before we get going with the episode, I always want to tell you at the end, we do a Bible study together because I'm a believer and I love to share the good news with you guys. Also, don't forget we have a car show, an online car show coming up. This could be your trophy. If that was your Chevelle, you would love it. But if you win your category, you're going to get a custom-made trophy that we 3D print. It's pretty cool. All right, let's get to building those cars. Let's jump in and show you what I do and don't like about the QA1 products. Actually, they're pretty good, but how you use them makes them great. Now, guys, remember, I'm not dissing QA1. They build a good product. This is the upper control arm that they currently sell for an A-body. And I'm going to show you exactly where it goes and why we don't use it. Why? Because we want more adjustability. Because when you're setting up your suspension in your car, there's ways to get mechanical advantages to make the thing actually handle a lot better. Very good. The tubular upper control arms are really designed. They're light, and the stock upper and lower control arms are made out of stamped steel. So this is a lot more rigid. First of all, let's talk about how you could adjust caster and camber with this component, right? So it bolts on, there's a couple bolts that go through here, and then you would shim it. So typically, if you wanted to add caster, that means your wheel's gonna lay back. Think about it like a grocery cart, right? The wheels drag back and it really goes really smooth. So if you move this back by shimming this side out, you can actually move the ball joint backwards, which adds caster to your alignment, right? Or if you want to add camber, now camber is the angle where the tire leans in and out. So if you add camber like a Miata, you can put a lot of shims in it go in this direction. You guys have all seen Corvettes, Miatas, that kind of stuff where they're in a lot. So this is how you would adjust this tubular upper control arm. But let me show you why we don't use it. Because after I built the first car, I took it to an alignment shop, I put it on all the best equipment that I could find. I couldn't get it where I wanted it to go. I could not actually get it there. So I went on a quest looking for the next invention or the next idea or the next component I could put into it. So look at it, it's basically the same thing. Now this is a forged steel product. It's actually, when you talk about forged steel, see that wide parting line right there that was ground? Forged components, you probably wouldn't want this in a cast component, but it's even heavier duty because it is actually forged. Your spindle is another forged piece typically on the car. Okay, so now we're gonna mount it in the same spot at the same place, but check this out. You have all this adjustment. You can actually take this thing without making this all wonky. And remember, guys, if you're putting shims in it here, you're very limited on how much distance you get, and you can put the shims. But having these adjustable arms that can actually slide in and out gives you tons of ability to put in caster and camber exactly the way you want to be able to do it. Now, when you add that caster and camber to it, you can get a lot better handling out of these cars. Again, made by a company called SPC. I highly recommend it. They're a really good product. I am not actually a dealer for these guys yet. All right, let's go to the next thing on the front. Oh, did I mention how many springs there are on the front? It's 5, right? Let me explain it to you. I'll count them out as we go. I talked about there's 5 springs in the front of the car. Everybody thinks about the springs in the front of a car. It's the 2 springs here. There's actually 5. This is 2. The other 2, believe it or not, are the radial tires. So now they have metal in them too, by the way. So now you got your belted tires that actually compress and rebound. Last but not least, the actual sway bar is a spring because it transfers energy from one side of the car to the other side of the car in a torsion spring. 5 springs. Go ask your friends, see if they knew that one. Let's hop over to my tuxedo tubby car that's actually in the process of getting built for a guy named Jeff. That's a very cool dude that I can show you how we actually configure the front end actually in the car. And then we'll keep going. All right, kids, here we are in front of one of the cars that I'm building for my customer. LT4 motor in it. Got the Wagner pulley system up front for this car and supercharger. Love this car. Love this car. I fall in love with the black ones with the white stripes. We do the pearl stripes on it. It's gorgeous. Anyways, the front end here is now assembled, right? And we've got, this is your sway bar, right? A spring. Think about it. This connects this side to that side. It's a critical part of your handling package. If you go too small one or too big a one, you can radically affect the way that the car is going to handle because it's all knit together. So this is a 1 1/8 sway bar. Again, it's QA1 product there, still QA1 product here. This is their stock lower control arm, but this spring ain't the stock spring. The factory, that when you buy it, you call it, hi QA1, hello QA1, I'd like to order a set for my Chevelles, right? What they will ship you is a 350-pound spring rate for the front of the car. And what that means is every time you take a spring and go down an inch out of 350, you gotta be able to exert 350 pounds of pressure. Check it out. This is an OEM spring for an A-body car. Look at how small that spring is and how tightly wound it is in comparison to this big old spring right here. This is what the big old bougie cars, you know, if you go up to an old car, you push on it, it moves all over the place, but the new ones, they really don't. It's because it's a whole different configuration. Look at the spring, it's huge, right? Okay, let's get back to the facts. This front spring rate now is a 650-pound spring rate spring. And the reason that is I don't want to take this whole coupling system and spin up the spanner nut to put pre-tension on the spring. Let me grab a spring and show you exactly what I'm talking about. So these are your spanner nuts that go obviously on this threaded sleeve. And what's happening here is manufacturers, in order to make one product fit a lot of different applications, will make a product pretty generic that is usable. So you could buy the QA1 product, put it right into a Chevelle, and it'll perform okay. It's just not going to be optimized the way that I would do it. And I'm trying to tell you those secrets. Much bigger spring rate in front. I'm at a 650 in the front of this thing. And think about it. You could have a big block in it that's heavier than that, or you could have a small block that's lighter. You can adjust that spring rate up or down a little bit, but what you don't want to do is preload it. Because if you start preloading it, it's not that same spring rate anymore, and you don't get the travel out of the shock. Trust me on this. What you want is a loosey-goosey shock that'll actually be able to move, but the right appropriate spring rate in it. So 650s are the trick for the front. 5 springs at the front, tires, sway bar, and these 2 bad boys. It's a wrap, guys. That's my secrets. The only thing I'm not going to share with you, well, I'll tell you. Do you guys know what bump steer is? So we're going to touch on bump steer for a second because it's really critical. It's something I wrestled with, putting these components on this car. Basically, you have a center line of your rack and pinion right here, and you're going to want to have that your tie rod end as much in the center of that in its movement, because what happens is, like you got your arms here, right? I am the rack and pinion. That's the longest possible position. So if I go up like this, they're coming closer together, which means your wheel is actually coming closer together. If you drop down, guess what? They're closer together as well. So that makes your wheel turn. Actually, when I put the tire on it, I'll put it up and down, and you'll actually see what bump steer actually is. But if you put a drop spindle on it and you tune it just right, you get it dialed in. All right, guys, what bump steer is tires moving out to in. And when you use a rack and pin, you got to be very sensitive to this, because with a conventional steering and a steering box, you have very long connecting. The center link that connects is very long, but these are very short. So watch this. Here, check it out. As it gets weight on it, look at how the tire is turning in. Okay, let's hold it right there. Look at how this tire is now faced in, and so is this one. It's actually towed in like this. So let's lift up again and watch the tires. You're gonna see them like that. Shut up. You get it? Bump steer. How do you think that's gonna be when you're driving down the road if you don't have that dialed and tuned in? Trust me, I fix a lot of cars for people, and we have seen this a lot more than once in our lives. All right, let's go back, hop to the back side of the suspension and the modifications we did there, the spring rates we used, and how we overcame some of the other design issues that are inherent with using universal products in one of a custom build. I'm giving you guys all my secrets. Okay guys, what we do on our chassis is we actually put in what I call the bat wing. This is the bar that suspends the shocks rather than just going to the shock tower. It goes right below it and it reinforces it. But what's really cool is you can actually adjust it in or out. The reason that's super important in this design is you can actually get a mechanical advantage on it and make your spring softer or stiffer depending on the location in which you actually set the spring. Let me show you in a book. I got a great book by a guy named Herb Adams, exactly what I'm talking about. I'm going to encourage you guys to get the book yourselves because it's a great read. So all the things that I'm talking about and doing on these cars is not unique just to us. It's been thought of by this great engineer, Herb. And I'll show you the book. Come on, let's take a look at it. All right, we're going to take a look at that book like I was telling you about, but I just realized something. Check it out. This is Speed Tech. So there's a company called Speed Tech that we buy a lot of the components. We got the wonky bar in back we use of theirs. We use some of this stuff, but we definitely don't use their cross member for holding their engine and transmission in place. This is their original trans mount. This, come on, bad boy. This one is ours. Heavy duty or what? Well, the reason we did it, there's a lot of reasons we did it, but what it is you don't want that engine and trans moving inside that car. You're gonna feel it. It's all about the reason you do the different things. All right, let's get back to that book and let me show you what I was talking about with those spring rates, and it's a cool dude, you'll see. All right, guys, a lot of things I'm sharing with you are things that are discoveries that I've made by trying the different components that are available out in the aftermarket. Run them, test them, drive them, tune them, run them, test them, drive them, tune them. But you can get yourself a book. This guy's name is Herb Adams. He was actually one of the lead engineers at General Motors, and he was the guy that actually built the Trans Am series cars that he worked for Lee Iacocca. I think he started in like late 60s, something like that. Anyways, great book, Amazon. You could go ahead and find it. But check this out. Remember I was talking about how the spring would change its strength in the back? Here it is. Look at that, straight up and down. Then it goes down, goes down, goes down. So as it leans over, it gains a mechanical advantage. The reason you want to have something like that in the back of the car is you can actually set the car up, not with just squishing up the springs that are the wrong spring rate, if you get it, the stock QA1 stuff. By the way, the stock QA1s came with 170-pound spring rates. We actually went all the way up to 300 in the back. So you can see that I use a much different spring rate all the way around the car, and you would think it would make it ride stiffer, but it doesn't, because I'm not preloading the springs. I'm gonna let the springs actually move. So when you preload them, yes, you can make a universal spring go on to a Chevelle or any car that you're building, but the trick is you wanna use as long of a spring as get as much movement as you can, and you don't wanna preload it because you don't wanna have that non-linear spring rate going on. And if you want, you get yourself a book. This is a great book, Chassis Engineering. You can really learn a lot about setting up a hot rod from a book like this. Anyways, I encourage you to do that. Speaking of books, you know what the best book in the world is? It's the Bible. At the end of every episode, we always do a Bible study together, and I think it's gonna be a good one this week. Better book than this. All right, let's get going on that. All right, guys, always a favorite part of the week for me to share the good word, read something out of the Bible, and the reason I do that is because, you know, about 6, 7 years ago, 8 years ago, started a hot rod Bible study right here in the shop, and we got a bunch of guys, we get together, we talk about it. It changed my life because it changes my perspective on everything, and I want to encourage you guys to get a Bible. If you need one, tell me, I will send you one. This is a cool part because I'm in one of the Gospels. Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John are all the stories about Jesus, and I'm in Luke right now. The red letters means it's quoting what Jesus said. And we're doing it right on top of my son's 1967 Camaro. I'm not scratching anything. It's a very soft outside edge. Okay, Luke 6:37. Do not judge, and you will not be judged. Do not condemn, and you will not be condemned. Forgive, and you will be forgiven. Give, and it will be given to you. A good measure, pressed down, shaken together, running over, will be poured into your lap. For with the measure you use, it will be measured to you. He also said this parable. Can a blind man lead a blind man? Will they not fall into a pit? A student is not above his teacher, but anyone who is fully trained will be like his teacher. Why do you look at the speck of sawdust in your brother's eye and pay no attention to the plank in your own eye? How can you say to your brother, let me take the speck out of your eye, when you yourself have failed and have a plank in your own eye? You hypocrite. Take the plank out of your eye first, and then you will be able to see clearly to remove the speck from your brother's eye. What I'm saying in that whole thing is, like, a lot of people that call themselves believers are hypocrites. You know, they blame other people. So if you see that coming out from somebody that says they're a follower of Jesus and they're like judging other people, like coming down on other people for what they do, and really take a good look at yourself in the mirror, right? That's what I try to do every day is like, okay, how do I become a better man? How do I do a better job at what I'm doing? What book do I read? I go to the Bible. This is awesome. That book I showed you before by Herb Adams is really cool. But this is actually the living, breathing Word of God. Again, I'm encouraging you guys to take a look in the mirror and, you can actually do great things. God's got a great plan for you, and it all comes down to this. Ask Him to help you, man. Say a prayer. Say, God, please lead me and direct me and guide me in the way you'd have me go. And it will change your life. I promise you that. It will. There's no doubt about it. Anyway, it's been a good week. I look forward to next week's Bible study, but I also look forward to sharing with you the new things that we got going through the Hot Rod Shop. I am kind of a crazy inventor. Like, subscribe, follow along. If you dig what we're doing, let me know. If you have comments or questions on things that we're working on around the shop, it's like, hey, what's this? Or how does that work? Let me know. I try to do a very good job at responding to most everybody as best we can. Anyways, God bless you. See you next week. Peace.